Oh shit, we started recording? Sorry, it really itches. There's fucking lice in my pubes. As I was looking through the list of all the DC movies I had to review, I discovered another list of DC movies based on comic books that have nothing to do with superheroes. I was intrigued. There are movies like Constantine, The Losers, V for Vendetta, History of Violence, and so on, that had nothing to do with superheroes, yet they were based on DC Comics. At this point, I'm fucking sick of talking about superhero movies, because they're all the same. Origin story, bad guy shows up, they fight on the top of a building. All of them are like this, even the best ones. So I am so relieved I finally get to talk about movies that have nothing to do with superheroes. Now, most of you probably don't give a shit about movies unless it has Spider-Man in it, or Thor in it, or Batman in it, or Batman fighting Superman in it. So to keep your interest, I'm going to talk about one of my favorite movies first. So this movie came out, it's called Stardust. I had absolutely no idea what this was. Apparently it was based off a DC comic, so I was like, oh shit, I have to talk about it. I looked at the poster and already it looks like a generic, boring, medieval adventure movie with magic and shit. Some Lord of the Rings ripoff, or like trying to cash off the Harry Potter movies or something. But I guess I have to watch it. And now that I've seen it, honestly, I love this movie. Not because it's a good movie, not really because it's a bad movie, but because it's entertaining. I love this movie because it has no fucking rules. Anything can happen in it. Stars fall out of the sky and turn into people. Women turn men into fucking goats. Unicorns show up. The whole movie, there are like these ghosts that hang around, and it's like the movie has a commentary track.
She's caught that stone!
I kept asking myself, what the hell is this? The movie starts the way every medieval adventure movie starts, with like a generic narrator explaining the generic backstory. So once upon a time, there was this wall that separated like regular people from like this enchanted world of like witches and kings and shit. And there's one guy guarding this wall. Apparently no one gets through this wall ever, even though it's really easy to outsmart this guy. Stop! So this one guy gets past, and he goes to this enchanted town with CGI elephants and CGI eyeballs. And then he comes across this girl, and she's chained up because a witch has her captive. And the only way the girl can break out is if the witch dies. So the guy's like, what do you want me to do? And the girl's just like, and then 9 months later, that old guy shows up and has a baby for him. This baby grows up to be Owen Slater from Boardwalk Empire. He's in love with this girl, but the girl doesn't love him back. She's in love with this guy. And then we cut to the kingdom, and there's this king, and there's this other prince or something who wants to be king. So then this guy throws him out of the tower, and then we get one of the best laughs in film history. Then this guy dies. Then this guy poisons these people, and this is probably one of the best scenes in the movie. So at this point in the movie, we know exactly what's gonna happen. Owen Slater is this underdog, he's in love with a girl who doesn't really love him back. She's in love with some other guy with lots of money, or power, or he's handsome, or something. So he goes on this magical adventure, and then he's gonna meet some other girl who he falls in love with, and realize that he doesn't love this girl, and then he's gonna become king through some shenanigans. And it turns out I was exactly right. Something happens, and then a star falls out of the sky, and whoever gets the heart of this girl, who's a star, gets to be immortal or something. So at this point, I'm like, okay, obviously these two are gonna meet, and they're gonna fall in love, and he's gonna have her heart, figuratively, and therefore they're gonna be immortal. Great script writing. So then when Owen Slater grows up, his father tells him the story of how he a random girl, and then 9 months later he was delivered to his doorstep. He gives him a candle and he lights it, and the letter from his mother says, think about me and you'll teleport to me through this candle. So then he does that, but at the last second, I guess he thinks about... Oh wait, I missed something, I'm sorry. So before this scene, he talks to this girl, and she's like, if you bring me that shooting star before my birthday, I'll marry you instead. So at the last possible second while he's teleporting, he thinks about this girl and the star that he has to get for her. So instead of teleporting to his mother, he teleports to the star, and then he captures the star with the chain thing that he has. The same thing the witch uses to keep his mother in captivity. So then he's like, I'll give you the candle if you let me deliver you to my girl, so she'll marry me, and then you can use the candle to teleport back to the stars. And she's like, okay, you have a deal. So then they walk around in the woods for a while. Meanwhile, there's this witch who wants to be young, and of course the girl's heart gives her the ability to be immortal and young, because every old woman wants to be young and pretty again, apparently. So then she turns this guy into a goat. And then we get this epic montage of them traveling with epic music. Meanwhile, she's on the small carriage with two fucking goats. So since she's a star, she sleeps during the day instead of at night, because at night she looks down upon everyone. Even though at some point in the world it's always nighttime, so this doesn't make any sense. So he's like, okay, sleep, I'll tie you to this tree and I'll be right back because I'm gonna go get food. And then while she's there, a fucking unicorn comes out of nowhere, and the unicorn somehow manages to break the chain? What? I thought the only way to break the chain was to kill the person who chained you up in the first place. Alright, fuck rules then. So then the witch has this great plan to capture the star girl. And she's like, I'll use my witch powers to make a hotel. And then she'll just stop by over here, and I'll kill her. So she turns one of the goats into a man, and she turns the other goat into a woman. Then Owen Slater realizes the star girl goes missing. And then he comes across this guy who also wants to become king. So then this girl goes to the place. Then Owen Slater and the guy go there also, the guy who wants to be king. Then the witch kills the guy who wants to be king, and for some fucking reason his blood is blue? What the fuck is that? And then he turns into a ghost, and then we get the commentary track from the ghost again.
Billy! Get him!
So then they have this candle still, so he's like, I'm gonna teleport us home, think about home. And then he puts his hand in the fire, and it lights the candle. And then, it teleports them to home, except they both have different versions of home. His home is on Earth, and her home is in the stars. So they're somewhere in the middle, they stay on a cloud. What? You can't stay on a cloud, though. Then a flying ship comes out of nowhere, and that's when you realize Robert De Niro's in the movie, and he plays a homosexual pirate.
My beloved England, I want to hear absolutely everything.
Hang on, I can't believe you.
But the thing is, Robert De Niro is gay, but he doesn't want his men to know he's gay.
The pressure of maintaining the whole Captain Shakespeare persona for the sake of the crew. Ugh, I don't know, sometimes,
So he pretends to be tough.
Anyone who disturbs me for the next few hours will get the same treatment.
What, you'll...
No, you idiot, I'll sling you over the side as well.
And all his men Then this happens. Then they come across this girl who's gonna give them a ride, and then she turns Owen Slater into a mouse. And then this girl has like this really emotional scene, except she's talking to a fucking mouse.
But to see the way that mankind loves. I mean, you could search to the furthest reaches of the universe and never find anything more beautiful. So...
Then the witch turns him back into a human. They fall in love, And then for some reason, Owen Slater leaves early in the morning just so he can cross the wall, go tell that old girl that he doesn't love her anymore and found a new girl, and then he goes back. But by the time he goes back, the witch captured the Star Girl. And then for some reason she glows and that kills the witch. And then the girl and the guy become king and queen. The girl is super jealous of him. And I guess this is the big reveal that the guy she chose to marry is a homosexual. And he's been having relations with Robert De Niro. Isn't that a great fucking story? The Losers. What a fitting title. This movie fucking sucks. The plot sucks. The actors do their best to be charismatic and interesting. They try to give them lots of funny banter, quote unquote.
All right, let's go.
Okay, that's a
All
gap.
right. All right, I will raise you.
You don't want to do that.
Oh, no?
Piece you got off that Honduran general?
Yes.
Guess what? I'm definitely in. Let's go.
All right.
Whoa! So even me up.
How many knives do you have? What is going on here?
There are a lot of good actors in this movie, but the script is just bad.
Do you have any hobbies?
When I was little, I collected human ears.
Good times.
Daniel Day-Lewis couldn't even make this sound great.
Call me Legless Boots again, you're gonna be Headless Jensen.
I think it's a cool name. Makes you sound like a pirate.
The story is boring and cliche. I'm shocked this is based on a comic because to me, it's just a generic action movie story. I thought comics had great original stories about heroes and villains and ghosts and monsters and adventure. Not a bunch of generic shit. There's a game called Bulletstorm, and that's like a parody of over-the-top action movies. And this movie literally has the exact same plot. Like, Losers, which is supposed to be a serious action movie, has the same plot as a parody of the action genre.
Yeah? Go fuck yourself! You shitpiles give chase, I will kill your dicks!
What? What does that even mean? You're gonna kill my dick? Well, I'll kill your dick! How about that, huh?
So how about the action in it? It is an action movie after all. Well, the action sucks! Quick cuts, handheld footage, bland colors, overuse of slow motion, terrible choreography. Everything that can be wrong with an action scene, basically. What the fuck am I watching? This is action. Not this. This is action. Not this. Constantine. This is the worst movie to talk about in a review because there's simply not much to say about it. This isn't a bad movie at all. As a matter of fact, there are some things in this movie that are really fucking great. It's a movie about a guy who hunts down and kills demons. Then it becomes like a mystery or something. I don't know. The story is very meh, but I like a lot of the visuals and the style. I love the look of hell in this movie. I love the look of the demons. I mean, sure, there are some bad special effects in it, but that's because it's an older movie. And a lot of the special effects still hold up. There's lots of great cinematography and use of color in it. And I love subtlety in movies, and there are lots of little moments like that. The little moments that define a character.
Welcome to my life.
I know this isn't the most critically acclaimed movie exactly, but I like it. Apparently people didn't see it because it was marketed poorly and it wasn't accurate to the comic or something. In the comic, he doesn't have the power to see half-breeds, and I think he's British in the comic or something. Thank God they didn't do that. Keanu Reeves hasn't always been the best actor exactly.
Let them go! Let them go! Our work is finished here. Hers has just begun.
And he can't fucking do accents.
I know where the bastard sleeps. I brought him there.
If you want to kill some time, I say give this a watch. It's pretty solid. Sorry if there isn't more to say about it. Again, it doesn't do anything remarkable or anything terrible. It's all in the middle. It's okay. Alright, so now let's talk about some actual good movies. You know, the kind of movies I never get to fucking talk about. Let's start with A History of Violence! History of Violence is about a guy with a history of violence. Now, as much as I'd like to talk about this movie, I really don't want to spoil it for you, because after seeing it, this is a really great movie. First of all the performances from everyone are very good. I mean, some of the casting decisions are kind of odd. Like, this kid is supposed to be like 15 years old. He looks like he's 25. And same thing with everyone else in the school. As a matter of fact, kids are like the only problem with this movie. All the adult actors are really solid, but all the kids in this movie kind of suck. I guess now I know why they'd cast a bunch of 20-year-olds to play 15-year-olds. The little girl in this movie is a terrible actress.
Sarah, honey, what's wrong? Huh? What is it, sweetie? Huh?
Daddy?
Yeah?
Daddy?
Daddy's here. Daddy's here.
There were monsters.
The son has like this love interest, I guess, and she doesn't serve any point in the story, really. I guess they're trying to set up a thing like he's gonna be like his father, I guess. And again, there's a bully in the movie for absolutely no reason that wants to bully people because he's a bully and he's mean. But the rest of the casting is great. This is a movie directed by David Cronenberg, and you can tell. It's really well shot, very well paced, and there is excessive amounts of sex and violence. I mean, violence is in the title, so I expected a lot of violence, but this movie is really fucking violent. And I love it. It's a little campy sometimes, but in this kind of movie, it's acceptable. Now, I'm being very careful not to give anything away, but trust me, this is a really good movie. It's dramatic in the right places, it has a great ending, there's lots of cool shootouts, it's an intriguing, unpredictable story, lots of great characters in it, lots of great actors in it, and above all, it doesn't end with the good guy and the bad guy fighting on the rooftop of a giant building in New York City as the bad guy tries to set up a giant laser so he could turn everyone into fucking monsters or some shit. Road to Perdition. Road to Perdition. I can't fucking say it. Road to Perdition.
Road to Perdition
is a great movie directed by Sam Mendes. He directed American Beauty and he recently directed Skyfall. His movies are very visually impressive. He's got like his own style, I guess. And this movie looks gorgeous. Tom Hanks is in it and he does a great job, of course. Daniel Craig is even in it and he's great. And unlike History of Violence, the kid actors in this movie are actually really good.
So, when do I get my share of the money?
Well, how much do you want?
$200.
Okay, deal.
Sad to say, once again, this movie is so good, I don't want to give away anything about it. But I can say for sure this movie had my attention the entire time. If you want to watch a really well-directed, well-acted period piece with lots of violence and action and death, I highly recommend this movie. I'd especially recommend it if you like gangsters and shit like that. If you watch shows like Boardwalk Empire, this movie is made for you. There's a few problems I have with this movie. For one, it has this pointless narration at the beginning and end. It's a lazy way of explaining the world and the characters before anything happens and after everything happens.
When people ask me if Michael Sullivan was a good man, or if there was just no good in him at all. I always give the same answer. I just tell them,
Fuck your own face!
This kid didn't need to explain any of that. We could have just seen it. Not only that, the first, minute of the movie where this kid is narrating, he spoils the entire plot, pretty much. They could have cut out the scene entirely and started with this. The movie would be no different. Another problem I have with this movie is the music. I really don't like generic orchestral scores. Just like boring violins doing the same old da na 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 na. I hate that. It's like background noise. It's like the worst kind of music. Like you're just sitting there and the music starts and you don't even notice it. It's amazing. It might as well be like the sound of a car passing by in the background. It's so dull and generic that it has no impact on you. If it's a good orchestral score, or even if it's like an ambient industrial soundtrack, that would work too. But just to have this dull music playing over the background, it might as well not even be there. It'd actually be better if it wasn't there. Oh, speaking of bad music. Red. So let me start off with this. I think this movie may have the worst soundtrack I've ever heard. It's the worst, most generic boo 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 boo.
Come on in.
And when it isn't that, it's this really lame, rock music. Bam, 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 bam. Do you know how much more effective this scene would be if you just cut out the music altogether? And if you are gonna put in music, make it decent. For what reason would anyone hire this composer who writes this awful rock and Seinfeld-ish action music? I mean, the music is kind of fitting, because this movie's such shit that it needs shitty music to accompany it. Now, I don't mean to sound like the fanboy that I pretend I'm not, but this movie isn't accurate to the Red comic at all, from what I've heard. In the comic, it's one guy, and they send a bunch of spies to go kill him, and he goes, "You shouldn't have done that, now I'm gonna come to kill all of you." I don't know what the character's age was, I've never read it, this is just from what I've heard. So this comic or this graphic novel was a serious action story about one guy. So they decided that was a bad idea, and they thought we should make this movie into like the Avengers, except with a bunch of old people. So now John Malkovich and Helen Mirren are in it, and instead of making this a serious action story, they saw the comedic possibilities. There is not one action scene in this entire movie where you feel tense, because the whole movie is like a farce. The action isn't even good. It's pretty awful, as a matter of fact. And since all the actors are old and don't give a shit about this movie, they hardly do anything. You can even tell Helen Mirren really isn't firing that machine gun. There's no recoil or anything. This is what shooting a machine gun is like. The screen could have been blank for 2 hours and I would have felt the same way. It was just a big nothing, and I'm surprised I remembered anything about it. So then, for some reason, they made Red 2, and Red 2 is pretty much the exact same thing as Red 1, except all the actors and the director and the composer are even more lazy now. Bruce Willis looks like he wants to hang himself in this movie.
So, how would you sell me the film then? What would you say that is the best part about the film?
I would slash my hooves.
No, I love this film.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think I've ever seen a movie where it's been so obvious that no one wants to be there. I could literally give the exact same review of this movie as I did with the last movie. So you know what? I think I'm gonna do that.
I do hope that there is going to be a third one. It seems set up for there to be a third one. What do you reckon?
I wouldn't be a bit surprised.
The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. Now, seriously though, this movie isn't that bad. It's just there's some entertaining action scenes, I guess. I like how violent it is. They take characters from literature like Huckleberry Finn and the Invisible Man and put them into the movie. Well, they don't call him like the Invisible Man. I guess they didn't have the rights to the Invisible Man, so they call him like Invisible Man, a Invisible Man. But yeah, like, I wouldn't recommend it, cause it's It's amazing. You watch a 2-hour movie and you don't remember anything about it when the time comes to review it. Fuck this shit. Let's talk about V for Vendetta. V for Vendetta is awesome. This is a movie made by the Wachowski brothers, the directors of The Matrix. This movie is so good for what it is. It's not an Oscar-winning film, it's not like a brilliant masterpiece or whatever, but it's not trying to be that. The only parts I don't like in this film is when it tries to be too awesome. Like, there's this action scene toward the end where V is fighting a bunch of guys and he's like practically invincible. That stuff is not nearly as entertaining as when V is just talking to Natalie Portman.
Voila! In view, a humble vaudevillian veteran, cast vicariously as both victim and villain by the vicissitudes of fate. This visage, no mere veneer of vanity, is a vestige of the vox populi, now vacant, vanished. However, this valorous visitation of a bygone vexation stands vivified, and has vowed to vanquish these venal and virulent vermin, vanguarding vice and vouchsafing the violently vicious and voracious violation of volition. The only verdict is vengeance, a vendetta, held as a votive not in vain, for the value and veracity of such shall one day vindicate the vigilant and the virtuous. Verily, this vichyssoise of verbiage veers most verbose, so let me simply add that it's my very good honor to meet you, and you may call me V.
Hugo Weaving is V, and he's so good in this movie. Natalie Portman isn't that bad either. Although I complained about the last action scene, there are plenty of good action scenes in this movie. They're exciting and fast-paced and entertaining, what you'd expect from the guys who made The Matrix. But V is such an entertaining character that no matter what he's doing, he's great. There's scenes of this movie of him just like walking, looking at stuff, and it's great. One of the best scenes in the movie is him cooking breakfast. It also has the most epic song ever. Well, basically whenever an explosion goes off, they play the 1812 Overture. The world that the Wachowskis created in this movie is very believable. It feels lived in. Everything feels right about this movie. So if you're about to watch this, don't expect the best movie ever, but you will not be bored. It's quite entertaining.
It's done. Yes, Mr. Frodo. It's over now.
Well, that's it. I've talked about maybe, oh god, I don't even know, 50 movies maybe? Sorry if I didn't go as in depth as you'd like me to go into 50 movies. I don't even think that was English what I just said. I can't even, my brain doesn't work anymore. I started reviewing these DC movies in fucking May. It's now almost September. And now that I've literally talked about everything, I can move on with my life. Although I'm sick about talking about these movies, I did have a fun time talking about all of them. And no matter what anyone says about these movies, whether you agree with me or disagree with me, or you love these movies or you hate them, or you think they're high art, whether or not you love the Dark Knight movies, whether or not you think Man of Steel is good, whether you agreed with me or not, I do know this. Avengers Age of Ultron fucking sucks.